Hello, everybody. This is Marcus Blake doing a review on The Green Room. Now, I'm going to preface this review by saying I am not a horror movie fan. Most of the horror movies out there are not entertaining and they don't do anything for me. I do tend to stick with mostly classic horror movies, like I love The Omen and the director's cut version of The Exorcist. So when a good horror movie comes along, I immediately want to jump on it and talk about how good it is. And The Green Room was a very surprising movie. I didn't have any expectations when I walked into it. I just knew it was kind of a different role for Patrick Stewart. But I have to tell you, this movie was great. And it's one of those that I would definitely see again. So here's what you've basically got in the movie without giving away plot details. You got Anton Yelchin, who, plays Chekhov in the new Star Trek movies, who is part of a punk band and gets a gig playing at a white supremacist hillbilly club up in the woods in some godforsaken state. They witness a crime, they get held hostage, and then you have Patrick Stewart, who's basically a white supremacist and leader of a gang and the movement in that area. What makes this movie scary is not flashes of blood or anything out. It's the intensity of being held hostage and being locked in a room and not knowing what's on the other side. And trying to talk your way out of it, trying to come to some settlement that's going to work for both parties, but really knowing that you're not going to be allowed to escape because of what you saw. So throw in a punk element to that with a lot of the main characters. I mean, this is a punk band, so it's all about anarchy and defying rules, stuff like that. And you've got this group of people pitted against white supremacists, okay? There are some interesting Hitchcock elements, that make this movie intense. It doesn't rely on shaky cams or flashes of blood or anything like that. It does prey upon your fears of being in that hostage situation and not knowing what to do. And of course, being thrown into a situation with strangers that you don't know whether you can trust or not. So, and it forces you to look at the so-called bad guys as, while you may disagree with them, they're kind of scared too because they don't know what to do with the people that witnessed the crime and how best to get out of the situation. You even have characters questioning their own commitment to everything. So, again, without giving everything away in this film, if you're looking for a fun experience with kind of a horror slasher film, but drawing you in slowly to the intensity of a situation that we don't want to be in, much like that movie Devil, where they were all stuck on the elevator with the lights out. Okay, it does. This is the kind of movie that puts us into a situation that first is very scary, that we never think that we could be a part of, and preys upon our fears of how are we going to get out of it and get out of it alive. I'm not saying that Patrick Stewart was absolutely great. This isn't Shakespeare. We know what he's really good at. Star Trek, Shakespeare, stuff like that. So it's a very big departure when it comes to, roles for him. But if I can be a little bit comical and just simply say, if there's anybody out there that could convince me to be a white supremacist, it would be Patrick Stewart. He is believable in that sense with his eloquent Shakespearean voice. Even though it's being masqueraded as a shitty American accent, it was funny to see him in this role, as the leader of this white supremacist gang and trying to figure out the best solution, for both parties to come out on top. But then you get locked into a battle of survival. So I would honestly give this movie an 8 out of 10. And again, it's something that I would see again. I think it's one of those great movies that you can be watching at home with all the lights off Maybe if there's a storm outside, just to really add to to heighten the atmosphere, then this movie is worth checking out. Hell, I'd even pay for a movie ticket to go see it again. That's how good I think it is. It's not the best horror movie that I've ever seen. There are a lot of classic horror movies that I think are better, but you have a good cast. You have a very good, intense situation, with these people, and you don't have to rely on a lot of shaky cams or, flashes of blood or anything like that, although there is a little bit of that element into the film, especially when you're throwing dogs in there. So for you horror slash fans out there, definitely go check it out. If you're like me and you're not a huge fan, don't worry about it. It's still worth going to see, even if you just see a matinee on a Saturday afternoon. So, and it's fun to see Patrick Stewart as kind of a white supremacist being the leader of a gang. Even if you don't find it completely believable, it's interesting to see him in that role. So, like I said before, I'm giving this movie an 8 out of 10. It's worth going to see, and you will probably watch it again. I know I'm going to.